Hello everybody, welcome back to the Fitz Health Conscious Corner. My name is Emma and I am your host of the show. I'm an international public medical database anomaly for a rare cardiovascular condition, and I'm also a multifaceted wellness practitioner, and I am here to talk to you about conscious living, all things wellness, and talking about branches of life's knowledge. So giving you strategies, tips, and sharing with you some wisdom, sharing with you some of my lived experiences, and hopefully just giving you some tools to take away for your life and navigating your course of your life. So I'll just give us a few minutes to log in. Hi everyone. Hey Peter, welcome back to the show. I'll just give a few minutes. Feel free to put in the chat, how are you feeling today? How's your day going? Are we excited to be back? I'm so excited to be here with you all. Episode 3. So we're talking about mental endurance. So last week we spoke about endurance as a superpower, and we explored 4 aspects of endurance. And those 4 aspects are mental endurance, physical endurance, emotional endurance, and spiritual endurance. So we talked about endurance, and this episode I want to specifically talk to you about mental endurance and break down what mental endurance actually is, share with you some of my lived experiences and how I have got to where I am today. So I'm just gonna give about 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Awesome. Yes, I'm so excited to share with you, Afia, share with all of you, talking about endurance as a superpower. So important. It's a quality that I truly believe is necessary for survival, and especially in this day and age when we are really dealing with a lot of adverse conditions, a lot of mental weight, emotional weight, also physical weight, just dealing with some of these challenges that we're dealing with as a society, but also individually, and maybe that's personally, socially, maybe it is financially, maybe it's family, friends, personal relationships, whatever that may be. There's things that we all there's adversity that we all have to learn how to navigate. It is something that is part of life, and I've really had to humble myself to that understanding through a lot of adversity, and using that adversity to help me grow and to keep pressing on. So let's get started, everyone. So welcome back to the show. Just to recap, last week we talked about endurance as a superpower. This week we're talking about mental endurance, so breaking that down. And last week we talked about, I shared with you a little bit about my struggles with mental endurance generally. And, I spoke to you about just how difficult sometimes there's been some really difficult times in my life. And I'm here to tell you about how I did it, how I got from there to here. A lot of those dark days, I've had a lot of those dark days, and what did that look like? It looked like wanting to give up. It looked like challenging the accuracy of my thoughts. And what I want to talk to you is why mental endurance is a quality that's needed for survival. So let's dive in. Let's jump in. All right, so let's bring it back. I want to bring it back to 2019. 2019, I had my last my third bypass surgery, a complete open abdominal aortic surgery to repair an artificial graft that I have in my aorta. So for a third time, very rare for anybody to go through this type of open abdominal aortic bypass surgery. So I had my third one in 2019. And I had a lot of complications with it. I spent a month in the hospital just recovering from having this massive wound. I went through a lot of complications. I wasn't able to take pain medication part of the way through in that month. So I had to really learn how to battle some physical adversity, which I am going to talk to you about in later episodes, because we are going to break down those 4 aspects of endurance in the next 4 episodes, so including this one. And the big part that I want to focus on in this episode is the mental endurance, the aspect of mental endurance that I've experienced. And when you're in the hospital, when you're on your back, when you are not able to function the way that you usually do on a day-to-day, when you're feeling lethargic, when you're feeling not as confident and unknown, in the unknown, unsure of how things are going to pan out, it can be very difficult. It can feel like defeat. It can bring up a lot of fear, and that was starting to brew inside of me. And I had the responsibility of figuring out how to use my mind in a lot of the physical limitation. How was I going to see my way out of this, literally and figuratively speaking? So fast forward, 2019, tail end of 2019, having this bypass, having these complications, being discharged the way that, I had, there was nothing else that they could do in the hospital. I had to, figure out how I was going to care for this massive wound that I had, this big incision, know how I was going to carefully maneuver my way around. There isn't any rehab for, my condition specifically. So I've had to create this course of rehab for all my life, but at each stage of my life and dealing with these complications, it's required a different level of me and a different approach. And I've really learned how to embrace this holistic approach. And no sooner than getting discharged out of the hospital, I ended up having complications with the graft, the new graft that was just put in. And, typically speaking, when you have any type of surgery, especially related to, vascular, cardiovascular, so heart, anything related to blood flow, brain, legs, complications are they can happen. The risk is very high right after surgery, and that's for anybody. Now, me having this a third time, my body really didn't like that. And my body actually started to reject the graft. And by the beginning of 2020, I was left with 50% blood flow in my left leg through collateral arteries. And collateral arteries, they're an alternate route of blood flow that transfers blood around your body through alternate channels. So these channels, they look like tiny branches, and they help to circulate and pass blood down to the area of the body that needs it, but it is at a very slow rate. So it's often, even till this day, still dealing with this, the pain comes from intermittent clotting, so not being able for my heart and legs to keep up with each other, the blood flow. So that's why I feel a lot of pain, because it's just it's not able to get down to my legs fast enough with movement, and as well with rest. So it's a constant all the time. So I was told I have to keep moving, have to, we were talking about different interventions, but of course, having 2 more surgeries prior to the bypass, this third one, it was the risk to complications was already very high. So going back in was going to be very difficult, and it was a decision that wasn't easy to make. So I decided that I needed to remove myself for a little bit from the constant, for 3 years, back and forth to the hospital, chaos, the trauma in dealing with these episodes that would happen and just totally rip me out of my life and land me in the hospital dealing with major surgeries and recovery. And I decided that I was going to go to Peru, and I connected with a yoga group that was willing to help me with my my goals, wanting to create more collateral arteries, wanting to learn more about anatomy, enhance my my skill set, but really also enhance my understanding of myself and connect myself back to my body. Because at times when you go through a lot of pain, there's a tendency to disconnect from yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, just because you don't want to feel that pain. And I went to Peru. I went to Machu Picchu, and I created arteries. I was climbing these mountains and the ruins, and I was using this as a motivation to learn, to see the way that others lived, the paths that others had to walk in their adversity. And I knew that I needed to push myself to actually create arteries, because just walking and movement's not enough. You have to actually push yourself to a level of pain so that okay, the body's in survival mode. It's trying its hardest to push this blood around, so it's going to start to break through making these arteries. And I did climb Machu Picchu, which is one of the mountains there, and I was in severe pain. It took me a really long time to do it, but it was something that I felt that I had to do. Just being out there in solitude to help myself wrap my head around everything that I was dealing with, and I needed to be in an environment that was going to give me some solitude, but that was also going to give me, an element of like natural foods as well. So it's a different, way of living as well. When you have a cardiovascular condition, you also have to be very mindful of what you're eating, what you're consuming, mentally, physically as well. And so it's a process. So yeah, just having natural foods was also really important. So just being able to be in an environment that facilitates, and really just try to see how I was going to navigate this path. And when I came back, because it was actually 1 month, and then when I came back, it was COVID hit full blown. The borders were closing, so I got back just in time. And mind you, going to Peru after a bypass surgery, 6 to 8 months after bypass, I mean, very risky on its own, but I really felt that I had to commit to living in the moment and doing my best. But when I got back, COVID hit, and a lot of things changed, as all of you know, and surgeries were not an option. So some of the surgeries that we had discussed, potential interventions, very iffy about, we weren't sure that we wanted to do that. I wanted to try to build some arteries on my own and see what happened. But when I got back, I having testing, and it was, the blood flow was still inadequate, but it was 50%, so it was still a level that I could keep trying to work with and to sustain, and even though it was enduring a lot of pain, one of the hardest parts going through that was just hearing the words like, there's nothing else that we can do for you. And mentally and physically, it's a lot to take in, it's a lot to digest, it's a lot to process, and a lot of the times you can go through an element of shock because there's not many instances where you can actually foresee that that's going to be the outcome. Going into a surgery, you think that everything is going to get better and it's another chance at life, not really thinking about the complications that could occur. In 2020, so I started a GoFundMe, which is something like I never thought that I would do. I didn't think I was going to reach out for help in that way, wanting to find an innovative treatment and realizing that having a rare condition, it will take innovation, and it does take finances to fund that. And I knowing it would be a long haul, a long shot, I knew I had to try something. And prior to that time, I actually never really put my medical condition per se on public display. People knew about it, but I didn't really talk about it as in depth as I do now, and embrace it the way I do now. And that was part of the process. And some of you on here may have contributed to that GoFundMe. Thank you so much. It's still up and running. We're still going. We're still trying. And it's not just for my rare condition. It's also for common conditions, because there is an aspect of my condition that is common in others. So just kind of circling back to 2020, and after the GoFundMe and pushing, continuing to do 10,000 steps every single day, no matter the weather, no matter the pain, just keep going, keep pushing myself, trying to do stairs and hills to be able to force more flow and to increase the intensity so that collaterals would create. And by 2021, I was exhausted. I was so exhausted, mentally, physically, emotionally. And I was tired of trauma. I was tired of pain. And I felt defeated. I was scared. I was unsure of what the future was going to look like, what it was going to hold. I didn't know if I had it in me to keep fighting on all levels. I didn't know how I was going to summon the courage to keep going. I looked at a lot of different options, and I really didn't want to do it. I didn't want to push. And I had to really sit down with myself. And if I can recall, this was probably August 2021, so about 3 years ago. And I refer to that as probably like the darkest time, one of the darkest times in my life outside of the hospital. And I looked into different options, and I had to consult with myself. I had to take inventory of my life and observe all the things that I have, all the things that I could still do. I wrote things down. I had to write this action plan down. Like, if I'm going to do it, how am I going to do it? What's it going to look like? And, that's me stretching my mind, because I sat with this for a good month deciding, like, do I want to do it? With a rare condition, there's options for, assisted suicide. So there was a lot of things I looked into. So I wrote it all down, and I said that I'm going to commit to this, and I'm going to keep going. I was put here as an anomaly to set a precedent. Sorry for the emotions. It's so real to me, though. So I gotta just put it all out there, because it's something that I live with. And despite the smiles all the time, as I try to be positive, it gets to you. It really does. And I made that choice, that commitment, and I said, I'm gonna commit to this journey of rehab, and I'm not gonna look back. It doesn't matter who's with me, who's against me, what it looks like, all the no's that I've been told. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep on fighting and persevering, because it's not my personality to not fight. I just had to commit to it. So what did I do? What did that look like? Well, I changed my 10,000 steps to 20,000 steps. And I pushed through that, and I pushed so hard. Every day I felt like I was walking all day, morning to night. I was doing yoga every single day to help improve blood flow, to help with inflammation, to help with mental endurance, to help with discomfort, and to find the comfort that my body needed to thrive in the discomfort, to be able to observe my body in movement and in stillness. Meditation helps so much, because meditation is helped me to be an observer of my pain. It helped me to observe my anger. It helped me to observe my sadness, my fear. It helped me to observe everything. It helped me to also deal with my nervous system in the fight and flight mode, the anxiety, and to really allow my nervous system and all the organs in my body to relax. It's a training, of course. It doesn't just happen like that. It's a training, and it's over time. Mental rewiring, big thing. I had to learn how, despite all the no's that was coming in every direction, although there's nothing we can do, you gotta live like this, you gotta run out the graft, I had to mentally find a way to stop hearing that in my head. And every time I heard those thoughts, I'd have to rewire my brain. I had to say that miracles happen. I am proof of that. Innovation, this world is changing, technology is advancing, and I had to believe, I still believe that something's going to happen. Something innovative is going to happen that we'll be able to explore, that I will see it in my lifetime, that despite what doctors say that I won't see these type of innovative treatments like stem cell or some other treatments, that I might not see that in my lifetime. I have to keep still believing that I will, and I gotta still keep fighting to believe that something is going to happen. Something. I had to also embrace and learn about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So I actually learned to be a practitioner, but I learned to practice it on myself so that I could also share it with others. I had to learn how to, so the principles of CBT is, your thoughts and have an impact on your emotions, and then your emotions have an impact on your behavior. And I was noticing a lot of that in my life, the anger, the resentment, the fear, and how that was translating emotionally for me and physically. And I had to rewire my brain with thoughts moment to moment, to keep showing up for the walks, to keep creating the arteries, to stick to the path that I was creating, to be militant, to have this militant, relentless mindset that wasn't going to give up. So instilling that in myself, that giving up is not an option. Learning to rest is an option. Learning to give up, not an option. And I had to keep telling myself that every single day. Awareness of what I'm putting in my mind, what I'm consuming mentally and physically. Is it empowering me? Is it diminishing me? Is it pushing me to my rehab every day to show up? And changing my environments, changing some relationships because they weren't healthy for what I needed to do. And, being a rare condition, it can be very, very hard to relate to others. And there's a lot of times when you have to do things on your own, and it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, or if, what they're doing looks, more fun or just more enticing than committing to my rehab, because, I'm working on this and it's like, I'm doing this. I can't see it, but I'm doing it. So, I had to commit to the process, to what the outcome would be, but rather than committing to what it looked like in the moment, and changing my thoughts on that. And another thing is, so diet, brain foods. So believe it or not, there's foods that give you power, mental power, physical power. And, cutting out fast food or sugary drinks, salty foods, anything high in cholesterol, things that feel like dead weight when you're eating it. So increasing my omega-3 intake, whole grains, super greens, also like legumes, beans, vegetables, fruits, really good for our cardiovascular diet. And it's not always accessible, or, the ways that it's made in a fast way, it's not always the tastiest, but I find that when you get creative with your food, any food, that it becomes more of an enjoyable process. You know what you're eating, you feel good that you're eating it, you feel more energy, and these things, they have a connection, because believe it or not, a lot of the foods that we're consuming, we're getting our nourishment, our nutrients, our minerals from food, right? So we need to make sure what we're putting in our bodies is good for mental energy and physical energy. And we want to make sure that if we're not getting those minerals and nutrients from food, that we're taking supplements, and of course talking to your doctors to see what supplements are okay for you to have. So that's also really important as well. Another thing that I would say is mindfulness, so being present in the moment, and that's been really helpful as well, not thinking too far ahead, being in the present, enjoying the present, living in the present, helps with anxiety, mental anxiety, when we feel we don't have control. So focusing on things that we can control, being mindful of what you're doing. Is it feeding your positive thoughts? Is it helping your course of wellness that you've set for yourself? So what does that look like? In 2023, I had some tests. It showed that more collateral arteries were created. Doctors, techs were really surprised to see all of the arteries that were created that I did. And they said, this couldn't have happened if I hadn't been doing the work for the last 3 years, if I hadn't keep pushing, they didn't know really how I was doing this. And I said it's a combination approach. There's so many elements and factors to what I've had to do to keep thriving and to be here. And, it's keeping me at 50%. It can decline. It can change at any time. But the most important part is that it stayed similarly the same despite some fluctuations, lower to 40%. 50, it still relatively stayed in that area, which is a big deal. It gives me more time to self-preserve, and if this graft is last 10 years without complications, I already have some. I'm 5 years in. If I can get anywhere close to that, without any complications further, then that's a big win for me, even without treatment, right? So the point about what I'm making about endurance is the quality of lasting. Endurance means to last. It means to bear without resistance. A lot of times when we feel resistance, we want to give up. That's the point where we want to give up mentally and physically. And for me, that's what I truly feel is the quality for survival is endurance, mind, body, emotions, spiritual aspect. So this is just the mental endurance piece that we're going in deeper today, and I will go in a little bit deeper in next episode talking about emotional endurance. And for me, it doesn't stop here. I have to keep going. I have to stay committed to the rehab. I have to say no to some social events or some things that everyone else is doing that I can't do, because I have to be committed to this. Not everybody's going to understand your process, your reasons why, but that's okay. That's okay, because you have to live with yourself. You have to wake up to yourself every day. So some pain is necessary for growth. And that is the fact of the matter, the absolute truth. Focus on what you can control. Focus on catching yourself when you're thinking negative thoughts, when there's thoughts that are, you feel that you're attached to those thoughts and they're negative thoughts, but you start to challenge them and stretch perspective on it until you find a positive way to look at it. Remember, negativity and positivity is a choice, all right? It is a choice. So you decide, and a lot of the energy that you have will become your frequency. So if you're emitting that positivity, you're emitting that in your body. If it's negativity, that's what you're spreading around, right? So it all adds up when we're talking about mental endurance and any type of endurance. So I just wanted to share this with you in hopes that you're going to take something away from this. That's something you're going through right now, that I am encouraging you not to give up. I'm not giving up. So where are you right now in your journey? What is it that you're feeling like you could give up on something? What is it? And where can you draw yourself back into perspective and stretch yourself mentally and physically to be able to keep on going, to keep on enduring, to keep going when you're mentally tired, physically tired, emotionally tired? I know we are 6 minutes over the time, so I just want to open up the floor to you. Is there any questions that you have, any comments, any feedback? I would love for you to share it, drop it in the chat. I am here every Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I'm here for you as well. So I'm here to answer your questions. If you have questions and you want to put in the chat, or if you want to DM or email me, there's options and ways for you to get in touch. So please feel free, because I'm here for you guys. I want to give you all strategies, tools, resources, and inspiration and motivation for you to keep going. So tell me what you need. Thank you for being here. If you want more information on Misfit Club, you can look up Misfit Club, MISFITCLUB.ca. There's more information there. So if you want to check it out, please feel free. Thank you, Afia. I try my best to stay positive. I think that as well, and we'll get into that a little later in the series, but positivity is also a superpower, and it's really important. It's really important that we stay positive and we allow our mental endurance to last. Sometimes the mind can last longer than the body can, whether it's in a certain situation medically, whether it's a yoga class. What you tell your mind to do, your body will follow. And that's something that I constantly teach about in yoga classes. If you've ever done a yoga class with me, you might know that I say that a lot, because it's so true, and I say that from lived experience, and I also speak from certified knowledge as a multifaceted wellness coach. So I am excited to connect back with you next week. And when you are ready to ask any questions, just send it on in. I am here for you. And I'll just check if there's any questions in the chat. All right. Thank you so much for joining in, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure, an honor, a true privilege to be here with you. To thank you so much for holding space for me, for this conversation, for this session, this episode. Episode 3, mental endurance as a quality necessary for survival. Thank you for tuning in conscious living and love. See you later. Bye, everyone.